What's going on? Welcome to the 5-Minute Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Colton Olson, and on this podcast, we spend about 5 minutes, I say about 5, give or take a couple sometimes, breaking down and teaching you to apply psychological concepts that world-class athletes, CEOs, coaches, and elite military units use to take their performance to the next level. The key word here is apply. I don't want you to come here and just get a bunch of information and not know how to use it. I want you to leave here every day feeling like you have something in your hands that you can use right away to improve your life. Let's get to it. I'm sure most of you have watched the Last Dance documentary by now. And not only is it full of a ton of awesome behind-the-scenes footage, but there's also a ton of great stories that are told firsthand by the players and the coaches. Maybe one of my favorite stories from the series, maybe my favorite one of all, is told by Steve Kerr. And so you probably know Steve Kerr because he's currently the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, but he was also a really important piece of those championship teams the Bulls had back in the 90s. So in the story, Kerr talks about how, because of a few happenings with the team, people being moved around, whatever, he was assigned to guard Michael Jordan in practice for a few weeks at one point during the season. And you wouldn't think that'd be a big deal because it was just practice. But it was never just practice with Michael Jordan. Jordan was incredibly intense all the time, and he was known for pushing himself and his teammates to their limits in practice, which is pretty much the opposite of most NBA players who are just trying to stay sharp, stay healthy throughout the season. So since he'd been a teammate of Jordan's for a little bit, Steve Kerr knew he was in for a tough few weeks. And he mentioned that when this started, he was more nervous showing up for those practices than he was for any games. So what happened was Kerr shows up, he starts guarding Michael Jordan in practice, and he just gets worn down, right? Jordan showed up every day, he outworked everybody, he pushed himself to the limit, and he set the tone for the whole team. And when the team watched him practice, everyone knew that Michael Jordan was going to win another championship. He was a monster. And this was brutal for Steve Kerr because he was getting beat down. It was awful. But within this brutal time period where he was just practicing so hard, something really interesting happened for him. He mentions how because he was challenged in such a big way during practice and he worked so hard guarding Michael Jordan that games became a relief for him. He was practicing so hard that he couldn't wait for game day because he knew it was going to be easier than what he had to do guarding Jordan. So when he got into those games, he played loose, he was easy, free, and he was supremely confident because he'd spent the days before the game not only guarding the best player in the world, but outworking everybody else he was going to play against. He was physically in better shape than everyone else, and he developed this unique mental fortitude that most people didn't have. He was forced into figuring out one of the few secrets to elite performance, a secret that people like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, or even someone like Tom Brady knew and they used better than everyone else. He figured out that the key to playing clean and dominating your opponents was practicing dirty and forcing yourself into these unique, challenging situations. So I say practicing dirty like Steve Kerr was when he had to guard Michael Jordan is a secret that elite performers know and buy into, but it's not necessarily a secret. It's mostly just something that most people aren't interested in doing. More often than not, especially as people get deeper into their seasons, closer to big games, they want to scale back the practice and take it easier so they'll be fresh and ready for game time. And I get that. You want your body to be great for games. You want to feel fresh. But my counter argument to that is that the way you push your body, the way your body feels in games, right, is directly related to how you push yourself in practice. And also, your body is capable of handling a lot more than you think it is. I promise you're not going to be completely exhausted and worn down during games because you've been practicing hard. And if you are, you're probably out of shape, so you should practice harder. In fact, I usually see the people that push themselves hard in practice consistently, they're usually more energized and more effective during games than the people who decide to take it easy. So don't buy into these ideas that you're made of glass and that you can't handle the hard work. Another reason most people don't want to practice dirty is because they're afraid it's going to rub their teammates the wrong way. And this one, I get. It's understandable. It's well documented that Michael Jordan was not everyone's favorite. Steve Kerr even punched him in the face during practice one time. And I can think of times in my life where I was frustrated with some of my teammates because they were treating practice like the Super Bowl. They were practice heroes. But even though MJ wasn't everyone's favorite, people didn't love him all the time, I can promise you he was the guy that everybody wanted on their team. That's partially because he was a winner and they knew he was going to give them the best chance to be champions, but it's also because they knew he made all of them better. And that's what people who practice dirty do. They push their teammates to bring their best every day, and when that happens, everyone's play gets elevated. The standards rise, the level of toughness rises, people see their skills improve rapidly, and you end up winning more games, which is really what everybody wants. And it's also contagious. You might be the only person pushing your teammates at first, but eventually more people are going to join in, and it becomes who you are as a team. It just takes one of you to get the ball rolling. So let's make a plan to help you implement this into your life so you can start practicing dirty right now and eventually play clean. Here are 3 tactics. Tactic 1. The first thing you need to do is honestly analyze how you're practicing right now. My guess is that you aren't practicing dirty. You're probably not really pushing yourself every day. Most people aren't. So take a few days and work to understand where you're at with your practice effort and your practice intention. Tactic 2. Identify the drills or workouts that you think are most beneficial to your development as a player and make a plan to drastically increase your effort and intent in those drills. You have at least one more gear you can hit. So make a plan to go find that gear. Find the drills where you can go and work extra hard. Tactic 3. Commit to practicing dirty consistently for a season or the rest of your season, whatever you're in right now. You can only see the real benefits of this if you commit to doing it for a long time. This is also the only way your teammates are going to get bought in and join you. So commit, go all in on practicing dirty, and you'll start playing clean. All right, that's all we got for today. If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and I'll see you back here next time on 5 Minute Mindset.